So, I'm making a game. Here's where it's at right now. But let's take a step back for a second. What actually is this game? I like to describe it as a runner, gunner, builder with a focus on speedrunning. To start off, we have you, the player. You have guns, you can do cool parkour stuff, and most importantly, you're inside a level, or a block as I like calling them. We also have enemies. Your objective is to kill all of the enemies on the block in the fastest time possible. This still all sounds like nothing super special. The unique part is when you start a new block, you get to customize it, add in objects like jump pads, explosive barrels, crates, you name it. Things that will help you finish the level in any way that you want. You have a budget, like in a bridge construction game? Use your money however you want to change the level and try to minimize the amount of time it takes you to kill everyone. I guess you can kind of think of it like you're John Wick, but also God at the same time. I guess that doesn't really work though. Keanu is already a god, but you know what I mean. But again, that's just where I'm at right now. Let's take a step back to the very beginning. I have a heap of experience with Unity, so that's what I'm going to be using to make this game. You can't do anything without having a character to move around and control, so that's where I'm going to start off. I could make a character controller from scratch, coding all of the movement, parkour tricks, and shooting, but that would take a while, and I actually stumbled across one on Reddit that someone else made a few weeks ago. It was made by Karlson. It pretty much has everything that I want. Moving, wall running, sliding, shooting. So I'm going to give that a big yoink and drop it into my own project. Alright, now we can really get started. Fixing all of the errors up, we now have it all working and functional. We have the moving, the guns, wait a second. The wall running, the sliding, the crouching, the shooting, the swimming, Alright, let's not do swimming. It's great, but some things don't feel quite how I want them. I want you to move faster, I want the wall run to have more force when you jump off, and a few other things. Easy. I also want to add in my own weapon. There are a few that came with the player controller, which are great, but I want to put my own in there. It's not going to be great right away, but it will be at least the start of something. So, I have my wimpy little pistol now. It doesn't look good or have a good feel to it, but I'll come back to that after I figure out a few more things. One of those things being how I want the levels to feel. I think this is a big one because I have these parkour mechanics. I want them to feel useful, and I need to consider things like having a good amount of verticality to the levels, but without being too close quarters that it's claustrophobic or too hard to get up places. I also don't want it to feel too big that the levels feel empty and makes the pace too slow, since there is that focus on speedrunning. I've started off by just building a building to get a bit of a feel for how we want them designed and to explore some ways on how you might navigate them. I fleshed this out a bit more and made a little level with a bunch of different buildings to test out these parkour mechanics and what's fun and what's not fun about them. Another part to making these levels is that there should be many ways to get to different areas, and eventually, with a construction mechanic, leaving spaces where you can build your own ways to get to different areas. It's feeling a bit barren, so adding in some extra objects should help flesh it out a little. It's not great, and I'm already feeling some flaws in the design, but we have a bit of an environment set up for making our other mechanics that we need. So, we have our movement, we have our shooting, we have a level. The next step is to add in some enemies. I described a human type model from another game that I worked on before and chucked him in there. Luckily, the player controller we nabbed also has some examples of some targets that you can shoot at, so we're going to set up our humans in a similar way. When you shoot a gun in a game, it's usually done in one of two ways, either with a raycast or with a physical projectile. In this instance, we're going to use a raycast, since I want to make a speedrunning based game. I want it to be accurate and consistent every time. Now, what this raycast method does in the simplest terms is when you shoot the gun, it sends out a laser, and if that laser hits anything, it lets us know what that thing is. So, we're going to set up a bunch of colliders on the human and tag them, so that if we shoot and the raycast hits one of these colliders, it will see that it has the tag, so that it knows that it's human and we can tell it to do damage and make a blood spurt and whatever else we want it to do. We're gonna set up some health for them, and when their health is at 0, we're going to make them go all floppy. I'm going to place them around the level and have a bit of a play and see how it feels. You've probably noticed that they're all just kind of standing there, not really doing much of anything. Eventually, I'll add some AI to the characters, but I'm not sure what I actually want to do yet. I do know I want them shooting at the player, but do I want them chasing the player? Do I want them walking around the level on set paths? These are all questions I'm not sure of the answer yet, so I'm going to focus on the core loop for now, and that next core step is to get that speedrunning aspect in there. Let's kick that off by putting in a timer to actually keep track of how long you've been playing the level for. I also need to make it stop when you've killed all the enemies, and then show it to you in a nice big text once you've done that. I tried out a couple different level setups to experiment with different movement styles to see what feels good. I also made it so that when you do kill all the enemies, it goes into a cool slow-mo mode, just cuz. Ugh, that looks pretty janky though. That looks a lot smoother. I'd just like to take a second right here. By now, many of you may be thinking, and some of you have already pointed out, that this game looks very similar to a game called Karlson, made by a YouTuber called DaniDev. For what it's worth, I hadn't seen any videos of his until I started working on this, but I understand. They both feature shooting, parkour mechanics, and have a focus on speed and getting a good time, and up to this point, they also look quite similar visually. But I want to state that while that game looks fantastic and fun, it's not the game that I want to make. None of the ideas in either of our games are unique. What is unique is the way we execute on those ideas, and I feel like we're both going about that in very different ways. That leads me into the final core feature and key differentiator for my game, the construction. I feel like this level I've made so far isn't really a good testing grounds for developing that, so I made a little puzzle type level. It's still not the kind of level I want to eventually have, but it's something that's good for testing. Getting things to be placeable was a little bit of a hurdle. I've never done it before, but essentially I've got a fake object that just looks the same, previewed when you hover over the environment, and then when you click to place it down, it just puts down the real object in its place. Easy enough in hindsight. I also made it check to see if it was intersecting with other objects so that you can't place something inside the environment, and I added a red glow so it's obvious when you can't. I hooked up a bare bones currency system so that you spend money when placing things down. I want the budget to change per level, but I'm not going to bother with that right now since it's a whole other kettle of fish and getting level settings and stuff going on, which I'll do later. But overall, right now, we have the core loop fully implemented. It's not pretty and it doesn't feel the best, but it's functional, ready to be expanded on and fleshed out. From here, I want to get it to the point where I can make it demoable, so I can give a build of the game to someone, have them play it, and it makes sense, and it feels not too bad. I don't really want to give it to people with it still looking like it does though. It still feels very prototypey. I want to establish a bit of an art style for it. I'm definitely no artist, but I can make my way around Substance Painter. It's really easy to get something that looks nice and a bit unique with almost no artistic skill at all. I'm not going to bother creating environment details or anything yet because I still have no idea on a theme or even a name at this point, and the objects could all change depending on what that could be. Like, if I were to create some jump pads specifically with neon lights and all that, it might corner me into some kind of futuristic theme, which I might not end up wanting, and it'd be wasted work. I created a bit of a catalogue of floors and walls and other obstacles, which all kind of fit together, which I can use to start creating a level for the demo. I'm going to wrap it up there for now, and next time I'll be taking a look at putting all these new environment pieces together to create a full level with everything going exactly to plan. Spoiler, it doesn't. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far and found it interesting enough, let me know what was good and what was awful. It's the first time I've made a video like this, and I'd love to hear some feedback about how to change the next one. The reason I'm making this video at all is that I'm in a bit of a challenge with my friend Harrison, who's also working on a game called Fisticuffs, and is releasing a devlog just like this one. I'll link his channel below. I'd just like to give a quick shout out as well to John, who created some of the music in this video, which I'll also link below. It was from a game called Dirty Harry's ThunderDrive that I made with him and a few other people earlier this year. Anyway, I hope to see you again in the next one. See you later, alligators.